Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to some of you folks out there. My name is Daniel Valade. I'm the Color Products Manager here at Roland DGA, and today we're going to go over, do an overview of new VersaWorks 6.0. I'm really excited for this. VersaWorks 6.0 is the next generation in our RIP software. 6.0 is coming up from Dual. It's very similar to Dual, but we have made a lot of really cool changes, and I'd like to go over those with you guys today. Just talking about the agenda a little bit here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what's new. We're going to kind of take an overview, look at the new interface compared to VersaWorks Dual, just to familiarize everyone with the new layout. It's very simple. It's not going to be very tricky. VersaWorks is a very powerful tool, but we've made it very simple for everybody to use. So I'm going to go over a few of the features. And now this is going to be a very high-level overview of VersaWorks 6.0. As time progresses on and we move into 2019, we're going to break out these new features and we're going to do specific webinars. So on some of these new features that I'm going to talk about today, we're going to have webinars on how to exactly get the most out of each of these new features. I don't want to try and squeeze everything into 30 minutes today, so we're going to go over this big overview. I am going to talk about printer color matching and what it means. Going to go over special color plate generation. It's another one of those tools where I get a lot of requests at trade shows. And it's just at this last trade show at SGIA, I had a ton of questions on how to price things out, so we'll go over the job log and talk about that as well. I think the biggest part is going to be the question and answer session at the end here. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say about VersaWorks 6.0. For those of you who have not downloaded VersaWorks 6.0 yet, if you go to Roland, www.rolanddga.com, right on the very main page, if you just click on the big splash screen that says VersaWorks 6.0, and we kind of scroll down just a little bit here, we have a features page and we have a direct link to the upgrade page as well. So if you have not yet upgraded to VersaWorks 6.0, follow the very simple instructions. We made it as simple as 4 steps here. There's also a tool that is available for everybody to migrate your data over from VersaWorks Dual to VersaWorks 6.0, so you won't have to do a lot of legwork moving all of your jobs and profiles and things like that over. All right, that said, let's jump into VersaWorks 6.0 and take a look at what's new. So anybody who's familiar with VersaWorks, the original or VersaWorks Dual, the first thing you're going to notice is on the left-hand side over here, we've got pictures of the screen, if you can see my mouse arrow. I've got a few different printers in here. I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that VersaWorks 6.0 does support every single printer that VersaWorks Dual did moving up to here. So pretty much those folks with VSIs, SPIs, and moving forward from there, our Pro 4 series and VG series, as well as our LEFs and LECs are all eligible for this. There is an FAQ page that's letting you know if your printer is one that is supported or not. So again, we're looking at the preview window is very much the same as VersaWorks Dual was. Some of the icons you'll notice, like in our special items over here, for those folks who are familiar with adding cut lines or specialty colors. This particular file has variable data in it, as well as some cut information. So that's still available to us to see there. As we move into, let's go into an LEF 300 here real quick. That way we can talk a little bit about queue settings and things like that. So looking down the left-hand side, you notice the icons look very similar, but they're not labeled the way that they used to be. They used to have bright colors and they were kind of labeled. Now if you just hover your mouse over the top of them, it tells you where we're at. The tabs are in the same order. We've got layout, our quality tab, any kind of level adjustments that need to be made, it's the same here. Of course, we have our converting spot color ability. As you guys all know, one of the big features of VersaWorks Dual is the color libraries that come built into VersaWorks Dual. So if you're designing in Illustrator, you're designing in CorelDRAW, all these color system libraries are available to you. Pantones are very popular, and a lot of folks use Roland Color System Library to do their design work. It's very easy to repeat those colors is the main reason for that. Again, over on the left-hand side, we're going through the tabs. There's not a lot of changes that have been made to the job properties or any kind of marks. We still have the trim marks, margin marks, and photoba marks if needed. This doesn't have a cutter built into the LEF, so we don't have the crop marks available there. Moving down into our other settings, everything looks very similar here. We've got the change UV lamp intensity for our UV users only. And going through the tabs, there's not a whole lot that's changed over here either. So just getting familiar with the look is going to be the biggest change for everybody outside of the additional tools that are going to become available to us. So one of my favorite things about VersaWorks 6.0 is we have gone from just QA and QB to 5 Qs. So we've got QA, QB, QC, D, and E, and this is valid for each one of these printers. So I'm running 4 printers here and I've got 5 Qs, so essentially I've got 20 Qs that I can use, and we can create a hot folder for each of those Qs as well. So if you're a company where you've got 3 or 4 designers all sending jobs to VersaWorks, you can have one spot on the network where they can drop those files into and it'll automatically populate into VersaWorks. That's something that we'll definitely be going over in one of our future webinars for VersaWorks 6.0. For those familiar with the hot folder process, it hasn't changed, so if you're working with hot folders, you just go about it the same way that you did before. The important part though is how many hot folders you are available to have and how many queue settings you're able to set for yourself now. This is just really making VersaWorks more of that production atmosphere. You know, it's always been a very powerful tool, but we're getting a lot of customers who are running multiple devices and really expecting production level quality out of VersaWorks Dual or VersaWorks, and VersaWorks 6.0 is a big step forward in making it a lot easier for those folks with multiple printers, multiple devices. And the printer color matching for those folks with multiple devices is very important. So just to kind of explain what printer color matching is, I'm going to go ahead and open it up here. We'll go into printer color match settings. This is the field where everything gets generated. And what happens is we would print our target printer data. And when I say target printer data, this is the printer that I want to match all my other printers up to. I know I'm hitting good color. If I'm running 4 VG640s and I bought one, you know, a year and a half ago and another one 6 months after, and as printers kind of age and get used, sometimes you see a little bit of a difference in color shift. What printer color match allows us to do is to, like I said, print that target print from the printer that we know is giving us good color, and then we can take that file and import it into the queues for all of the other printers that are the same ink set and same model. So if you think VG540 and you're running 3 dual CMYKs, or 2 of them are 640s and 2 are 540s, this system will work to do color matching across the board. The instructions are very simple. It's simple as printing the chart, measuring the chart, and then either putting the reference data in or the target data in, depending on which printer that you're doing. This is going to be a very detailed webinar. This webinar would take 30 to 40 minutes in itself. So early 2019, we are going to go have a webinar based just on printer color matching. So those folks out there, mark your calendars for sometime in January. We haven't quite settled in on a date yet, but we are definitely going to be doing this. And if you're one of those shops where you've got multiple printers, 3 or 4 VSIs or RF640s or a multitude of LEF series printers, this is going to be a big advantage for you. Another thing that I get a lot of questions on is our special plate color generation. So special plate color generation allows us to generate data based on print data that's available to us. So I'm going to open up maybe this LEF 300 here that doesn't have any white or gloss into it. And what it will do, it allows us to easily add a specialty color. So in Roland language, that means our gloss channel, primer channel, white ink, metallic ink. Any of those are considered a specialty ink and can be generated directly out of the RIP without having to go back into design software. I'm going to show you guys how to do that real quick, because I think this is one of the more powerful tools in VersaWorks 6 or in VersaWorks Dual. Our Dual users may be familiar with this, some may not. So if I want to generate a layer of white, for example, I'm going to change my print mode here. So I'm under the Quality tab, Media Type, I'm going to leave it generic. Whatever print quality that I want to use, whether it's high quality, standard, that part doesn't matter. That's up to you for your application. But I am going to select white, and watch what happens to all of my data. I have no white data built into this. So that really familiar pink color that represents RDG_white in VersaWorks, we're not seeing anything there at all. So I'm going to go down on the left-hand side here, scroll all the way down to the very bottom, and you see if I hover over that, it says special color. Click into special color, and my special color I'm asking for is white, and it's only offering me white because that is the mode that I selected back in the quality tab. All I'm going to do is simply hit generate special color plate. Now you notice anywhere that I had print data, it's been pretty much a pixel for pixel replacement, and that very familiar pink color comes up that represents RDG white. Very, very simple. So in Illustrator, we'd have to create another layer. In CorelDRAW, there's some things that we'd have to do. If I wanted to do a different effect and I wanted to make this the opposite and just go around the print, outside of the print area and make kind of a negative space, I can do that in 1 or 2 clicks as well. If my need for this is to make this entire square, my entire artboard white, and then just print CMYK where it's needed, we can do that too. We can actually adjust the density here. So if I need to have something that's, maybe it's going to be backlit and I want to adjust the density down a little bit, I don't want it quite at 100, I can take that down in increments of 1% at a time. So I can go 50%. And you can see the actual preview lightens up that pink color. So we're actually seeing a preview of the density being adjusted. The other really important part when you're laying down white or one of the other specialty colors is being able to correct position. So sometimes when I'm printing white, I see a little bit of white peeking out from underneath my CMYK, and I really want to avoid that. So I have this size correction here. So if I did a test print and I saw white just maybe a 1/2 millimeter sticking out from underneath my CMYK data, all I have to do to correct that is to negative maybe 3 or 4 thousandths of an inch. And that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it really helps when you're doing these multiple layers. Now, if I was doing a layer of gloss over the top of something, let's say if I was doing the print area here, and I wanted to put gloss over the top of this, we'll go to our quality settings here, and I'm going to change the media type to special effects and gloss and varnish. So you notice automatically my preview over here changed to green. And that's because I have special color plate checked already. If I uncheck that, data goes away. Check it, my data comes back. When I'm doing gloss and I'm doing gloss over the top of CMYK, sometimes I'll add a little bit more so that I get kind of a seal around that gloss on the outside. This is all really for our UV guys. This can also be done with printers that are just our EcoSol printers with either white or metallic ink. So our VSI users, our XR640 users with metallic or white, or our VG users that have white ink, this special plate color generator works for that also. As long as your printer is capable of printing one of those colors, it's as simple as a couple of clicks as I just showed you. While I'm doing this real quick, does there happen to be any questions about special plate color generation? I know that usually when I do this live, I get a lot of people out there. So we've got Jordan in the back kind of fielding some of our questions. I wanted to check and see if we had anything going. And if we don't at this time, that's okay too. I thought I'd just kind of jump in and ask real quick because this is one of our more popular all right, there we go. All right, so if we don't have any questions on that, I wanted to go over our job log interview or our job log overview as well. The very cool part about the job log, and if we go at the very top menu over here and we go to View and Job Log, it brings up everything I've printed since the last time I've initialized this application. So if I go into one of these, maybe in my Flight Festival decal here, and you can see I have the size of the file here was 25 inches, 0.5 by 25.5 inches, and I know I used 2.41 cc's of ink, and I also have a start and an end time. So I know how long it took for me to get this print too. This is only a minute long, but if this was a really long job and it took 15 minutes, then I can kind of build in the cost for my labor as well. If I click into the ink consumption here, we can actually dive a little deeper. And I can actually see how much ink of each color that I use. So this was a VG640 that I was using. It happens to be a dual CMYK. It gives me all the information that I used, what media name that I used, how many copies of this 25.5 inch by 25.5 inch print that I did, rip and start time, and then again ink consumption. Now you can see on the yellow, I used almost twice as much yellow or 3 times as much yellow as I did cyan and black, and then close to twice as much as I did of magenta. So if this was a job that came in and this person's needing, 1,500 of these labels, and I know I'm going to be using a ton of yellow, not only do I have my costs ready to go, I know I probably need to make sure I have a couple of extra yellow cartridges laying around so I don't end up running out of ink mid-job. And having to delay the customer waiting for ink to show up. So I can kind of gauge, hey, I'm going to do 1,000 of these. I'm going to need 1,000 cc's of ink. How many cc's of ink do I have on hand right now? So it makes it really easy to kind of plan and then also price your products. Pricing products is a little bit weird because what a t-shirt sells for in Southern California isn't the same as what a t-shirt might sell for in Utah or in South Florida or in Georgia. So that side of it might change a little bit. But your cost to make the items is never going to change. You're always going to know exactly what it costs you to make these specific items. So that's our job log. I use this tool a lot, especially when I'm doing a lot of testing. So I don't really do a lot of production and I don't sell things like most of our end users out there. But I do a lot of testing, so I have to know how much ink I need to have. I need to know how much ink is being used in these machines so I can in turn say, hey, here's what our total ink consumption is for a specific printer to give you that information so that you can make an educated guess on which printer would be best for you. So that's kind of a big view overview of VersaWorks 6.0. There are some things that you can do. I notice a lot of people don't like having their layout window. I notice some people like the layout window, but they don't like the preview window. So in our view, we can change this to make it look however that you want to. So personally, I like to have my preview window, my layout window, everything all at once, and then when I maximize everything, I have a view of everything that's going on. The other really cool part about VersaWorks 6.0 is that the profiles that we made for VersaWorks Dual are importable into VersaWorks 6.0 as well. But that said, we also have our Roland Profile Center that has been set up with VersaWorks 6.0. And so some of the preview questions, some folks emailed us some questions ahead of time. One of them was, hey, can we go through the process of actually adding a profile into VersaWorks 6.0? I had somebody who was having a little bit of trouble. So I'm going to go through the process real quick here. I already have one downloaded because just in case it took a couple of minutes, I didn't want to waste time downloading. But the first thing we're going to do is tell it what printer we have, what type of ink set we have, what our particular setup is. I'm going to choose, even though I have an 8-color here, I'm going to choose 7-color because 7-color profiles will work on an 8-color device. My RIP manufacturer is Roland. My RIP version is 6.0. So you notice Dual used to be listed at the top. Now we've got 6.x. And the reason why we have an X there is because VersaWorks 6.0 is designed to very easily add tools in the future to make our lives a little bit easier. So we'll have 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and we already have some plans in 2019 for adding some tools. So as we go through those webinars I was talking about, a lot of those are going to be introducing brand new tools to VersaWorks. So I'm going to use a, let's Roland DGA generic here, and I'll go to our HTMS Satin. At this point, all I need to do is really click on More Information, and if we scroll down, you can see how many of these profiles we've already downloaded. So I've already downloaded this one, but I would hit Add to Queue, and then download my queue. I'm going to avoid that right now, but I am going to go through the process and actually show you guys how to, let's change printers here to VG640, how to add a new profile into VersaWorks 6.0. So at the top of the screen, we have File, Edit, View. We're going to go to Media, and then in the drop-down menu, hit Media Explorer. So in Media Explorer, this page here that we see, I can turn them off with using my eye icon if I want to. The other thing that we can do is add brand new profiles. So we're going to go into our folder here, and I'm going to go into Documents, and let's see. So here are all of my new profiles that I've added into here. There's one that I wanted to show you in particular. Where did it go? All right, well, let's go through the process and actually download a new one then. We'll download a brand new HTMS profile. And we'll download. As we're waiting for it to download, we'll jump back into VersaWorks real quick here. Start the download. Let's see how fast it's going to go. Maybe we don't need to jump around. Save as, and we'll do HTMS. And we'll do that on the desktop. All right, it's only 20 seconds. The last time I tried to download this one, it was about 3 or 4 minutes, so we'll go through the process real quick here. And that should be just about done. All right, so we'll open up that folder and we'll unzip the HTMS. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to extract all of this. So I'm just going to hit the extract all button and go ahead and hit extract. It only takes a couple of seconds. So this is going to end up back in that same folder. So we have the on my desktop HTMS. So now we'll go back into VersaWorks6 and we'll hit Media Explorer. And on my desktop, HTML. Well, where did you go? I keep saving it and it's not showing up. Let's find it real quick here. There it is. So all I'm going to do is select this now and hit open. And it's going to go through a process of trying to import the file, and it's going to give me a couple of areas where I need to say yes or no to some questions. So select media from the import list. We've only got one. If I were to have downloaded several profiles at once, they would all show up here. We'll hit OK. Importing, and now HTMS is showing up here. So if I hit OK, and now we go into our VG640, and I go over to my settings here. I've got Roland EGA HTMS Heat Soft Satin ready to go, and I've got the high quality and I've got the standard. There's a couple of different passes, 10 pass and 12 pass that we downloaded, but it's really that simple. I did have a couple of folks who had sent questions ahead of time saying they were having some trouble importing some of these files. So it really is that simple. I'm going to go through the questions at the end of all of this. There's a ton of questions. We're going to try to answer some live. I think that with the amount of questions that we have, though, a lot of these are going to be emailed back to you guys. So we're going to try to get to all of your questions, of course. But at this time, we're going to take a couple of questions. Jordan?
Yes. So one person is asking, if you have a job that has been printed in Dual but not yet cut, do I need to complete all jobs before upgrading, or will I be able to cut those in 6?
So the question is, you have a job and you've already done the printing part of it, but it hasn't done the cutting portion yet. So when you use the migration tool, from moving over from, when you go through the process of, if you used the migration tool when you moved from VersaWorks Dual to VersaWorks6, that job should import and be left as it was in VersaWorks Dual. So if you open it up and you had only done the printing and you went into your printer settings and it said, or cutting settings, and you said print only before, it should still be left at print only. At that time, all you need to do is change it to cut only, and you should be able to go back in and cut. It depends if you use the migration tool to save it out or not. If you didn't use the migration tool and you still have the file in Dual, if you simply go to the bottom, if I can go back into our page here, if I wanted to take this file and finish it up somewhere else, I can hit Save. And then if you notice the little drop down, it says VersaWorks job files are just .vw. We actually want to do VW job plus source file. So you save that job, and the next time that you import that, you can import that into VersaWorks6, and you should be able to pick up your job right where you left off. So 2 ways of going about it.
A couple people are asking if it works with BN20.
Yes, BN20 is supported with VersaWorks 6.0.
Another person is asking, can the names of the queues be customized?
Names of the queues be customized. You know what? I haven't tried to do that. Let's see if... The names of the queues can't be, but we can actually create job settings inside of the queues. So what you can do is you have something that's called the default setting here. We could actually add a new setting if we want to. So this is one setting now. So it's saying it's already in use. So I'm going to go through the whole process again here, and I'm going to change this up just a little bit and say, I'm going to change this quality to high quality, and I want to save this one. And we'll change this to high quality. And hit OK. So now when I go back into my queue settings, and I want to load a specific, I can say give it my high quality, hit OK, and now those queue settings have taken place. So I can't actually rename queue A, B, C, D, and E. I can rename settings within each of those queues. And those settings that I just showed you how to do, how to create the, even though we have 5 queues, I can create as many different settings as I wanted to. So if you had your wrap vinyl and you have your HTMS or your heat transfer material and you have a backlit that you want to do, you can set up those all in settings, and then you just load directly from your queue when you're changing it from QA to QB to QC to QD to QE. So you can imagine how many different settings that you guys can have be customized for you.
How about for users with printers simply set up with just CMYK? What is the main difference for them using VersaWorks6?
The main difference in using VersaWorks6, and this is I was waiting for this question. I didn't want to jump right into in the very beginning and talk about a bunch of technical things. But the biggest difference for a user that's just moving over to VersaWorks6, it doesn't matter if you have a CMYK device or an 8-color or 4-color. VersaWorks 6.0 is a much more powerful RIP than our previous generation. We've taken the technology from VersaWorks Dual with a dual core processor, and we've actually made it so that VersaWorks 6.0 can natively process 64-bit files as well. So instead of having to convert to a 32-bit, we can natively process 64-bit, which makes it so that ripping certain jobs, especially PDF files, since this is a native PDF processor, makes ripping some of those jobs a lot quicker and easier. So it's the speed of it. And then you said you have just a CMYK device. The queue settings, being able to have 5 queues now instead of just 2 queues, makes it so it's a lot easier for you to move from job to job to job without having to change all those settings. You can kind of have those 3 or 4 medias that you really use a lot every day. Most people, you have a cast vinyl, a calendared vinyl, maybe one version is gloss and one version is matte. So you can have all those presets so you can auto-populate those with having to do very minimal work once you've populated it into the RIP before printing.
What is the minimum RIP configuration? What is your recommendation for fast ripping?
For fast ripping? That is a pretty loaded question. My biggest recommendation for this particular RIP software is to stop saving things as EPS. In the old days, in the very first versions of VersaWorks, it's a PostScript engine, so it would take something like a PDF and it would convert to a PostScript, and sometimes things would get lost in that translation. Now, the best way to save a file out for using either VersaWorks Dual or 6.0 is to save things out as a PDF, and it gives you the best chance of fast ripping, most accurate ripping, so things like drop shadows, and when you have a lot of layers that are built into a file, sometimes they don't show up on printing the same way that they do on the screen. VersaWorks Dual and VersaWorks 6.0 especially kind of looks through that PDF instead of having to balance out each layer and try to make it stack on top of each other. That's the best way I could say it without getting too technical. But yeah, this PDF files is the way to go to make sure that you're ripping as fast as possible. We have time for one more.
We have a couple people asking if VersaWorks6 is compatible with Apple computers.
At this time, we still don't, it is not compatible with Apple computers. It's something that we've always talked about, and down the road, that might be a possibility. At this particular time, though, we don't quite have a workflow for it. Keep your eye out in the future, and we'll keep you posted on that. So with that said, thank everybody for your time. It was a quick 30-minute webinar today. Again, we're going to go into 2019 and break out some of these individual features and tools that are being added into VersaWorks 6.0, and there's some I haven't even told you about yet that we're going to have planned webinars for coming into 2019. So again, thank you for your time, everybody. Again, my name is Daniel Valade. Have a great day.